Raquel calls in this morning, I want to go over, and I noticed something over the weekend. We all heard about what happened with the ranch in Nevada, that the feds backed down. I've seen a bunch of video. I'm sure you probably have too. Well, they had the cowboys, they had supporters, they had a lot of people there, and the feds backed down. They got the cows back. And I'm thinking to myself, just something seems odd here. Here we have a 14-year-old girl kidnapped from her family. Her family had their daughter stolen from them and not allowed to see her. The girl's getting no medical attention, thrown in a room, basically left to die, and that is what's happening. Over the weekend, there was a demonstration, and I seen some of the video. It didn't look like there was that many people, but I seen some other videos. So there were some people sparking up here and some people sparking up there. I know there was a motorcycle gang that was there. Good for them. I mean, bikers, come on. I mean, you can't. I mean, come on. Bikers are the only guys that. I mean, you always see bikers and stuff like this. And they get this bad rap because, oh well, they're fat and they sweat and they got beards and tattoos and they're dirty and this and that. But bikers are always there for something. When it calls for freedom, there's always a biker there somewhere. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it just goes to show you who the real Americans. I'm not saying that only bikers are real Americans. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, a lot of people talk a big game and then, nothing. I don't know. But what really bothered me about this whole thing is the amount of people that really weren't there for demonstrating for Justina Pelletier. However, when it came to cows and frickin' turtles, and basically cows are money. That's what it all boils down to, is money. And another one of my theories, what I believe, why the government was really after them, why they pursued this in the way that they did, and they ramped it up. See, the government is now out of money. And they're looking to get money anywhere in any way that they possibly can. They are taxing people now. If your grandparents got some cockamamie government check that they weren't supposed to get to 5 gazillion frickin' years ago, that somehow on some book somewhere that somebody kept, why would they keep them? I don't know. I don't buy these stupid books anyway. But they're going to make people pay them, and how they're going to do it is when you get a refund from the government, they can just say, "Well, you owe us, X amount of dollars." Boom, 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 boom. Nothing you can do. Here's your check. That's what's going on here. The government spent all of the money. They don't know what the hell to do, so they're trying to take it and do anything that they possibly can to get money. This is all about money, frickin' money, because people don't know how to responsibly spend it. That's what this is about. Meanwhile, we got a girl stuck in a hospital, basically left to die. Thank God for the bikers. But what I'm saying is, now I know Easter Sunday, there's supposed to be a big one there. This should be much bigger than cows. I mean, I'm not saying taking anything away from what happened in Nevada. I'm good for them cowboys, good for everybody that stood up. Thank you. Those are Americans right there. Saying this is BS. We're standing up, and good for them. And good for the feds to realize, hey, come on. This is ridiculous. Maybe somebody realized that, or I don't know. But whoever made the decision for them to retreat, unlike what they did twice in Benghazi, actually made a good decision. However, that never should have happened either. But I mean, this is a 14-year-old, now 15-year-old girl who's getting no medical attention. She was kidnapped from her parents. We're still trying to confirm if this was a real study or not. And speaking of which, it looks like we've got Raquel on the line here right now, so let's get over to her. See if my producer punched this in right. Hello, Raquel. This is the captain. How are we doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
All right. I was just saying, trying to compare real quick before you can you give your report here. What I noticed over the weekend, and I know you keep up on a lot of events too. Of it, people go to war with guns and standing up and fighting, and people coming out for cattle and turtles. And basically, what cattle is money. But when it comes to a 14-year-old girl who's stuck in a room left to die, there just doesn't seem to be that same kind of outrage, neither in the media or in the public. So that's just what I noticed over the weekend. So
unfortunately, but I think that's moving in a different direction. I think the Pelletiers are still getting attention. I think that's going to grow. I think the bigger media is going to have to pick up on the conservative or internet or social media that is covering the Pelletier case. And the bigger media is going to have to pick up on it more. I mean, Fox News is on it.
Yeah, but it should be all of them. This should be a national story, just like the cattle and turtle war. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It should be actually.
And the reason why it isn't, and it's because of the whole topic of child abuse and child abuse is a serious crime, and it has to be dealt with, in a criminal court. But what's going on in this country, as you know, is that state governments are using the idea of child abuse to, cattle children into this child trafficking ring, and they're getting federal dollars for it, so they're doing it for money. And it's an industry, and it's been going on for so long. People have just become so. They either they don't know, they can't believe it that it's going on, or they really just need, or it happens to them or somebody that they know close, that is close to them and that they can trust. And sooner or later that's going to happen because it's going on so frequently. We really just have to keep that public awareness. I think we have to keep that public awareness out there. And I think Justina Pelletier's case is a perfect example. And it is just one example of so many.
Well, I mean, if this is going on here, and you're right, how really big is this? Is this all nationwide? I'm sure it's probably worldwide in other countries, but I mean, I'm just talking in just America. And if so, how many? That's got to be. Are we close to millions of kids, or are we still in the hundreds?
Yeah, we are. Absolutely.
Jeez.
It's billions of dollars. I believe it's millions of kids and billions of dollars. In fact, in the state of Louisiana, there's a class action being put together to sue the entire state for RICO. And I understand they have evidence of everybody involved, the social workers, the judges, the politicians.
It's
all about
who would
the
be
child
like the
trafficking
ringleader? But who is the ringleader? Is there one particular person in charge, or is it just a group of people that just get together to manipulate the law in the way that they see fit and just basically steal from the taxpayers? I
think sometimes it's run by the counties and the sheriff's department because they get the money. You follow the money, you see who's getting the money, and then they're really the kingpins, if you ask me.
Well, then,
I don't know that it's something orchestrated from some top level, but I do know that top levels understand that this is going on, and they do understand it's a problem. Some people care, some people don't. In the state of Florida, Jeb Bush, about 10 or 12 years ago, I guess when he was governor, there's an article in the New York Times where he had put together a panel to sort of fix this problem with kids getting lost, kids getting injured in foster care, too many kids taken for not imminent danger. And the conclusion was that the problem was so bad that they couldn't do anything to fix it. And somehow that was acceptable.
That doesn't even make any sense, though. I'm not yelling at you, but I mean their rationale that it got too big that they couldn't fix it. I mean, what does that even? I mean, how could they even say something like that or even think that way? I mean, these are kids' lives being taken away from their family, and it's just gotten too big. We can't do anything. I mean, that seems a little, weak, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's outrageous. what they get away with. Why does it continue? Well, there's just so many different people involved in jobs and money and all the cottage industries that are created
do these
with
people
the child.
realize
It was Adolf Hitler who created the idea of child protection services, and what he used it for was to put the teenagers, particularly the boys. He put the teenagers in his army, and I understand that there's some evidence that he drugged them with heroin. But he used the Child Protection Agency to go pick up the kids. You know, their parents were abusive, so let's go get the kids, and that's how he got them. So that's
they get a lot of testing on their own people too, and
then the testing, right? That's another problem, because once a child becomes part of the state, apparently the state can sort the hospitals, the research centers, the universities can use these children as subjects to studies. And that's something that the Pelletiers are aware of. It's something that the politicians are currently aware of. If you know Congressman Stockman from Texas, U.S. Congressman, he's in the middle of preparing a bill to Congress to address that issue particularly. That what happens when a kid is in the government's control? Where are their rights? Who protects their rights when their parents aren't there to protect their rights? Almost. Whether it's okay to use them as subjects to studies, and foster kids, and they come out of the system and they're really torn. It's a very high rate of prison, jail, crime, drugs.
Well, I mean,
it's not pretty. It's not a nice situation either. So in other words, it's like they're stealing kids from good families and then they're putting them in dangerous situations, which is really bad. And people kind of like, what?
So they're just using these kids so they can make a living,
and they don't want to believe it.
Right, people don't want to believe it. Well, I'm a playwright, and I produced my own show. It was all about domestic violence. I've got it up on my YouTube page, and I had the whole thing videotaped. It was a beautiful job. A good friend of mine did, and I got into it, by accident. And once I started learning about domestic violence, I mean, it is more rampant than you might think in areas that you would have no idea that it's there. Well, this is legal child abuse. They're taking away the child, and now they own the child like it's a slave, like it's their property, and they're just conducting tests and whatever they want to with it.
Yeah, and you want to hear something really unfortunate too, because you mentioned domestic violence. What they're doing is that they're using domestic violence as a reason to take the kids into the state custody as well, because they're saying, well, if the female is a victim of domestic violence, and it could be the other way around, but let's just say the female is, well, she failed to protect the child from the domestic violence, even though the violence may not have been on the children. She let them be present during a situation that was violent. Well, the state will take the children based on that.
The goddamn
really
playground is violent. I mean, come on. I mean,
this is how corrupt it's become, because they'll use any little corner almost, because they're just really trying to pick up the kids for any reason. Your house is a mess. You're on prescription drugs. You smoke pot. Anything that they can come in and grab that kid, and if the younger the better. They'll grab the newborns right from the hospital.
Under 21, kids on a file. Every child is on a file now. It's a government file, and the government knows they need to have information of what, your voting habits, how much money you make, your bus stops, your this, your that. I mean, I got 400 data points that they put on your child's file that they fill up from the time that they're child all the way till they're like 20. And they saw something in Justina's file somewhere where they could use that, and just like what's going on here with Holder and everybody saying that everybody who's white now is in the KKK. It's racism. Why they're picking on the president and me. It has nothing to do with the issues. I mean, if you got to resort to something like that to get your way, I mean, it's obviously not real. But why there isn't enough real outrage out there in our Congress, I know they've got a lot of work to do with Benghazi, Fast and Furious, IRS, and everything else.
Yeah.
But this is a human life here, and this is rampant. And I think this is much bigger than just one case.
Yeah, I think more and more. I mean, I'm positive. I think more and more people are becoming aware, and I think this case is something that could really catapult the issue.
I'm hoping that it does. I really do. Now, I do know that Easter Sunday, that's this Sunday, right? This coming Sunday or is it next Sunday? Okay. I do know that their parents are going to be down there. Is that correct? Is that what you heard?
Yes, they are trying to get her to get the permission to have her go to Easter Mass with them. They didn't allow it last year. They don't know whether they're going to allow it this year because of the additional pressure. But nonetheless, they're going to be there anyway, and they do plan on being there on Easter Sunday, yes.
Now, what actual evidence, or has the court even revealed that was what they considered medical neglect? What was their exact reason? Was there something on her body? Did she have scars or something? Did she have?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll actually just read two paragraphs from the article that's going to be published in Human Events probably sometime today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Boston Children's Hospital filed a 51A report, which are allegations of detailed neglect or abuse, with Massachusetts DCF against Lou and Linda Pelletier, alleging that Pelletiers were unfit to care for Justina because they had disagreed with the medical diagnosis order. That's the only evidence that they have, and that's the only thing that they're reporting on. And I'm going to quote their statement. Children's ultimately diagnosed her with somatoform disorder, a psychological condition rather than mitochondrial disease. Her parents disagreed and intended to discharge her against doctors' orders / suggestions, and a 51A report was filed by the hospital. That's a public statement. That's the only statement that shows that was their claim. It wasn't only till now that all of a sudden the governor's talking about some detailed history of abuse. The statement says something about the statement from Massachusetts CCF talks about previous concerns or previous neglect or history of neglect in the home. Now, when you ask, when I spoke to the spokesperson for the Pelletier family, Reverend Mahoney, he said that's absolutely not true. The Connecticut DCF has never been in their home because it wouldn't have been Massachusetts to be in their home or have a detailed record because they don't have jurisdiction. It would have to come from Connecticut DCF. Connecticut DCF doesn't say anything about any history of neglect at all. All they say is the first time they've had any contact with the Pelletiers has been in March of this year. So there is something wrong here. Reverend Mahoney calls it revisionist history. Now, as far as the judge's order, I'll remind you that this is the first order that the judge actually had printed. Any other orders are all whether they must have been recorded by transcribed. Why did he give an order? And by law, and actually the judge is already not kind of following the law either, because when the very first time the judge ruled that Justina was supposed to stay in the custody of the state last year, well, he needed to provide a detailed account of why. That the state, it had to show what the state provided as evidence and how he came to that determination. And that's just written by the legislature. But he just didn't do that. In fact, I understand that at least Mr. Staver told me from Liberty Counsel that the judge did say Justina should go home if Connecticut doesn't want to get involved. If Connecticut had a case against the Pelletiers, well, I think they would have said something a long time ago. And there simply was no against the Pelletiers. Massachusetts is kind of making things up, and now they're sort of backtracking because I'm just assuming, and I don't know for sure, but when their first allegations were presented to the judge, there must have been some maybe half-truths in there or maybe some flat-out lies.
What I don't understand...
That the judge, yeah.
Well, what I don't understand is why would the judge give an order verbally and not make it an order? That doesn't even make any sense. I mean, why would... And
it's illegal, too. He's supposed to have that printed. It's supposed to be a printed order to be valid, too. So
that tells me that he's doing this deliberately to stall for some time. Maybe he's in on the deal, too, this judge. Right?
Maybe. Seems to be a problem in other places, too. You know, it's like the case I was telling you about in Louisiana. It also included the judges in the family court system, in their family court system across the state.
Because if you have a child that's being held illegally in a hospital and you give an order to bring the kid back, I mean, that is something that needs to be done, you know. I mean, O.J. Simpson got out of jail quicker after his trial. I mean, it should be boom, boom, boom.
Right. And when the Pelletier's attorney told them, okay, you know, let's bring Justina back, they said, well, there's no order. If it's not printed, it's not an order, and we don't have to abide by it. So that's how that and, you know, from what Mr. Sater said, the judge has basically just been kicking the can, and that's his words.
That's exactly what
he's
doing.
The judge has been kicking the can since then, and now with the public attention, apparently he did issue an order. I know you probably read it too. He did issue an order, but again, it doesn't tell or discuss any of this alleged abuse beforehand. The only thing that was alleged was, the only thing that they supposedly, that the state thinks that they can take Justina for is over a disagreement over a medical diagnosis. And this is just wrong. You know,
but that's supposed to be for the patient to decide. I mean, look, you don't have to accept chemotherapy if you get cancer. You don't have to accept surgery if you need, you know, something removed from you or something fixed. You don't have to have.
If we keep letting the state continue to make decisions for us, and I think Obamacare is going to be a big problem.
Oh, it's only going to get even much worse.
Of course, we should have the option, but maybe they want to force things on us too. So I don't know. It's not good.
No, you're absolutely right. I think this is, and that's another reason why I think a lot of these Republicans, they come out and they act like they're going to fight for, to repeal Obamacare, and when it comes down to it, they don't, because they're making money. They've got to have some kind of monetary investments going on with medical devices and medical this, medical that. Medical companies, this and that, and this is what it's all boiled down to, is money. Because this girl isn't worth any money, that's why you can't get the outrage. But if you're a cow or a frickin' turtle, okay, well, let's get everybody down here with a bunch of guns. Let's, I mean, that's. It just seems to me that sometimes this, where are our priorities here? This has got to be happening much more to more children than just Justina. So this is, I mean, God only knows how big this is. I mean, that's sick that I didn't realize that we had that many sick, twisted people living in this country. I mean, I know there's sick people out there, but, I mean.
Yes, and they're in power. And they are in power, and they are making a lot of money.
Worse.
And they are turning a blind, either they're turning a blind eye or they're in on it because this something so big, the politicians know.
The governor's got to be in on it too, right? This governor, he's got to be in on this. This governor, he's got to be in on this now too, right? Doesn't he say his hands tied?
Yeah, and the governor also, is he from Harvard too? He's a
I'm sure of it.
Minister, I believe.
Should know better.
I think. Wait, I'm going to tell you in a second a little bit about the governor. But the governor, I did reach out directly to the governor's office, but they directed me right to DCF. And their representative there, and that's where I got response.
They don't want to deal with it. They just want to pass the buck.
He's not responding directly, but he did send a letter. He did send a letter to the state legislature on April 1. But he makes some claims that I don't know where he's getting it from about this detailed history of neglect because just there is none.